This is Czech Moravian Church in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. This Protestant congregation has been worshiping here in this very spot since 1762. My great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, George Clewell, along with his brother Franz and others, helped found this congregation. However, this is not where the story begins. The story told often starts with Francois and Louisa Clewell, persecuted French Huguenots who got married and raised two sons in Germany. After Francois died, Louisa wanted a better life for her family.
She and her two sons, Franz and George, came to this country in 1737 from Europe and landed in Philadelphia. And from Philadelphia, they made their way up to this area. Boys grew up and married and had children and settled elsewhere in Bushkill Township here.
There was not always good blood between the German settlers and the English settlers in this area because they mostly came from those parts of Europe, Lutheran or Reformed.
So how then did the Clewells, who were French Huguenots, get connected with the Moravian Church in colonial Pennsylvania?
I'm with Conrad Rice and John Beidel, two members of our Clewell family. A lot of people have no idea about our family's connection to the Moravian Church, and even more so, just exactly what is a Moravian.
We trace our roots back to John Huss, and we're talking now 500 to 600 years ago. And we're talking about the Czech Republic. He was instrumental in leading a reform movement against the Catholic Church. And they subsequently broke away from the Catholic Church and migrated into Germany. A man by the name of Count von Zinzendorf became a benefactor to this movement. This church, early church, sent out missionaries various parts of the world. My great-great-great-great-grandparents were, first wave to South America. Everybody should get the idea after this is that the Moravian Church is a Protestant denomination, and very, very early, as a matter of fact, John Huss preceded Martin Luther. We're not some wild sect from out in left field.
When the Clewell families moved their homesteads in Upper Nazareth, they began searching for a minister because there were no churches near enough to travel to.
So the people got together and sent letters to both the Lutherans and the Reformed and said, could you send us somebody to come and preach occasionally? Not every week, but just preach occasionally in the German language. And the Lutherans said, we only have one or two people in the area, we don't have anybody. So then they sent a letter to the Moravians. Now the Moravians were about a mile away, and they said, we want somebody to come and preach to us in the German language. And the Moravians figured, we've got some people not too far away, so they said they would. And there is a copy of that letter, which exists. It's in the Moravian archives in Bethlehem. But there's a book that was published about the congregation, so that letter is published in that book. They sent a pastor up to this area, started meeting in someone's house, and they invited people from the neighboring farms to come and listen, and they did. And eventually they outgrew the house, and after a couple of years they said, we really need a building.
What's very fascinating about the Czech Moravian Church is that there is another Moravian church no further than a mile away in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
The reason that there is a church north of Nazareth and a church in Nazareth, only a mile apart, that doesn't happen very often. The one in Nazareth was a closed community. You could only live inside the boundaries of Nazareth if you were a member of the Moravian Church. And you had to subscribe to that communal lifestyle until the mid-1800s. So there was a building built where all of the unmarried men lived together. They were there. There was another separate building for all of the unmarried women of whatever age. For a while, married couples and families didn't live together. Now, eventually, as the economy changed, they abandoned that. The people up here did not live in that way. They didn't live all together. They lived on their own farms, like you would think. So the Moravians called that a preaching place. So this was a preaching place where anybody from the neighborhood could go, whether they started out Moravian or not, whether they subscribed to the Moravian rules, they could come to church here. The people in town all lived together, all subscribed to certain economic rules. When they opened up, this church eventually became a Moravian church, but it was still a preaching place. This church has continued as well as that church has continued. There hasn't been any reason to merge them or to close one of them. So far, they both have their own separate reasons for being, and so that's why there are two Moravian churches very close together. The Czech congregation, we now say it used to be a family church. It used to be the congregation really that the Clewell family was very active in, and now as sort of membership has expanded a little bit, now it's a church family. We care about each other. You know, in 260 years or so, you would expect things would change.
The Clewells have always donated their time and money to the Czech Moravian Church. Some of the donations include items such as the second original Czech Moravian Church register. It contains the recorded death, birth, and marriage dates of the members of the congregation. Both the first and second registers were restored by the Clewell Family Association in 2007.
In 1981, one of our family members for the Clewell family donated a 3-octave set of handbells to the church in memory of Harry J. and Barry L. Clewell.
Are any unique traditions that the Moravians have that are different from, let's say, Baptists or Presbyterians or Methodists?
The Moravian star is the biggie. Everybody recognizes the Moravian star today. You see it in Hobby Lobbies, for goodness sakes. And but that originated in Germany, in Herrnhut. And it grew, from a paper star into what you see today, plastics, metals, whatever, glass, you name it.
One of the traditions the Moravians practice, and I have participated in, is called a love feast. The love feast is a special church service where the congregation shares in drinks and pastries.
I'm disappointed you guys never even mentioned the word love feast. Where does that tradition come from?
There was a gathering
With Count Zinzendorf, right?
with Count Zinzendorf. And this was in a period that John had mentioned where there was a lot of turmoil going on amongst themselves, living on. Zinzendorf, by the way, was a Lutheran. Right. He was not a Moravian. From what he had learned about the Moravians, to admire them and their beliefs. But there was infighting. Some didn't want to be there, some back and forth. And they sat down for a meeting to iron out their differences. They were bickering among themselves of where they wanted to proceed. They were meeting so long that they went clear through their dinner hours or whatever. So Zinzendorf brought in food for them so they could continue their dialogue. And this is where the love feast came to being.
Throughout the centuries, Moravians have forever enhanced the fabric of this country, and Clewells have been indispensably linked. Moravian influences are perhaps no more so apparent than during the holiday season in Pennsylvania to this day.
And even here in the little town of Nazareth, many homes had their puts set up at Christmas time and then open up their house for people to come in and see. Even carried on today, Central Moravian in Bethlehem still erects their puts every year.
And that is the story of the Clewells and Moravians in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. I invite you to come explore your Clewell heritage in Pennsylvania and throughout America.